This is fatal footage. Real homicides, real recordings that circulated online, not reenactments. The tape in this episode is among the worst I've worked from. Sustained violence, dismemberment, and sexual abuse of a dead body, shot and edited for an audience. Viewer discretion is highly advised. In May 2012, Montreal became the center of a case that moved like a broadcast. A video uploaded to the open web, human remains mailed to schools and political offices, and an international manhunt that ended in Berlin. The victim was Jun Lin, 33, a Concordia University student from China. The man convicted of his murder is Luka Magnotta, born Eric Clinton Kirk Newman. A jury found him guilty of first-degree murder and related counts in 2014. He received a life sentence with parole eligibility set by law. The charges reduced to what the record shows: homicide, dismemberment, and indignity to a body, circulation of obscene material, use of the mail for that material, and harassment of public figures connected to the packages. This piece traces Magnotta into that week, through the recording and through the investigation. Before Montreal, the same man had already drawn police and animal rights networks online. Eric Clinton Kirk Newman was born July 24th, 1982, in Scarborough, Ontario. He legally became Luka Magnotta on August 12, 2006. Reporting on his background, much of it from court files and later trial coverage, describes a fractured childhood. His father was diagnosed with schizophrenia, his parents split. Magnotta eventually lived with a grandmother. Those are other people's summaries in the record, not a diagnosis of what came later. He attended I.E. Weldon Secondary School in Lindsay. As a young adult, he received a disability allowance. He supplemented it with escort work. He picked up modeling and strip work, and appeared in a small number of adult videos over several years. Press that reviewed his credits described the output as sparse, not the prolific porn star persona he sometimes pushed online. He filed for bankruptcy in 2007. Debts and instability showed up in public documents more than glamour. The self-made image was the bigger product. Investigators and journalists later described dozens of social profiles and sites under different names. Magnotta as successful model, as headline-worthy star, as victim of rumors he sometimes appeared to seed himself. One documented episode from 2007 was a hoax linking him to Karla Homolka. It drew media interviews and denials. Montreal police briefly suggested a connection during the 2012 investigation, then retracted it for lack of evidence. He auditioned for reality television. He pursued cosmetic surgery. The through line in the reporting is attention, engineered, repeated, and measurable. The criminal record started before the murder. In 2005, still using his birth name, he was convicted of fraud and impersonation. He had persuaded a woman with a developmental disability to apply for credit cards and then charged thousands in goods to major retailers. A sexual assault charge was dropped. He received a 9-month conditional sentence and probation. Sentencing remarks in the file noted psychiatric issues and inconsistent medication, a thread his later defense would pick up. The Crown at the murder trial would argue a different picture. In 2010 and 2011, he posted videos of himself killing cats, suffocation with a vacuum, drowning, and feeding a cat to a snake. Online groups identified him. Animal rights networks circulated the clips and offered rewards. Toronto police opened a file after complaints that included the Ontario SPCA. Tips also went to agencies in Montreal, the UK, and the United States. Activists online called him the vacuum kitten killer. By the spring of 2012, Magnotta was renting a small apartment on Dakari Boulevard in Montreal. He was 30 years old, on the radar of strangers on the internet, and about to intersect with someone who had nothing to do with that world. Jun Lin was born December 30th, 1978 in Wuhan, China. Friends and coworkers in Montreal also knew him as Justin. He came to Canada in 2010 to study computer engineering. Before Concordia, he attended a language school. By July 2011, he was in Montreal as international undergraduate in engineering and computer science at Concordia University. He worked part-time at a convenience store in Pointe St. Charles. The people around him described someone steady, showing up for shifts, keeping plans, building a life far from home. In May 2012, he moved into a Griffintown area apartment with a roommate. It was a new lease and an ordinary step, a month before everything stopped. Court and press coverage of his private life, offered by people who knew him, said he was gay and had not told his family in China. They had met a former partner. A long-term relationship had recently ended. Reporting pointed to family pressure to marry a woman and settle down. After the breakup, he used dating apps the way millions of people do, to meet men. None of that explains a crime. It only places him in Montreal, looking for connection in the same city as Magnotta. The last time friends saw a routine signal from him was the evening of May 24, 2012. A text from his phone around 9 o'clock. His employer noticed when he missed a shift the next day. The last images of him alive are not intimate. They're surveillance. Junlin and Luka Magnotta walking into the apartment building on Dakari, Magnotta's building, on the night of May 24. After that, the record belongs to police, parcels, and a video. Junli was 33. Surveillance ends at the lobby and the elevator. What happened inside Magnotta's apartment that night is not on those tapes, only on what came next. The legal records place Junlin's death in the May 24th to 25th, 2012 window in Montreal. On May 25th, Magnotta used his own passport to book a round-trip flight from Montreal to Paris. The reservation sits in the same narrow span of hours as the rest of the day's decisions. An 11-minute video titled "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick" was uploaded to bestscore.com, a shock site. Investigators later said Magnotta sent the file to the operator who posted it. The clip carried New Order's "True Faith" in the audio. On screen, for anyone who opened the link, was a naked male body, restraint, repeated stabbing, dismemberment, and post-mortem sexual acts, staged, edited, and meant to be watched. Reporting also documented promotional posts for a video under that kind of title in the days before the killing, a thread prosecutors would treat as planning, not impulse. On May 25th, the file was in public circulation. Early viewers tried to flag it to authorities. The machinery of identification, torso, mailings, warrants, had not yet caught up with what was already on the web. The upload is "One Lunatic, One Ice Pick." The cut that's circulated runs roughly 11 minutes. What follows is a straight account of what appears on that recording, aligned to the source timing so you can lock voice to picture. In the first minute and 5, two men are on a mattress. The victim is nude, bound to the bed frame. The perpetrator straddles him, also unclothed from the waist down. The victim still moves. Not clearly alert, not clearly gone. The face and body read as partially conscious, then heavily impaired. A jump cut. The camera is picked up for a closer angle. The victim appears off the restraints in this segment. Continuity breaks, the edit is deliberate. From the minute 5 mark to 2:30. A narrow tool, the title calls it an ice pick. The image reads as a short pointed implement, enters the abdomen. The victim looks unresponsive as the blows land. The stabbing is sustained in high frequency, on the order of 20 to 30 strikes to the stomach in quick succession. Then the pattern widens, arm, shoulder, upper chest. No fixed target, no rhythm except repetition. New Order's True Faith runs under the violence. 2:30 to 4. Close-ups on puncture clusters. The neck is hit. The face is turned toward the lens. The throat is opened. One eye appears destroyed or gouged. The airway reads as compromised. The blade moves to limbs, deep slices into leg and forearm. The skin splits with little resistance. Subcutaneous tissue and muscle exposed. A poster hangs in frame, 1942's Casablanca. From the 4-minute to the 5:15 mark, the head is severed. The killer handles the head, rolls it in frame, then returns to the torso. The body lies face down. He saws and hacks at an arm, half severed, then fully detached. The knife reads as very sharp. He scores the back with horizontal and vertical cuts. The mattress is saturated. The head sits apart from the trunk. He lifts the removed arm. It dangles. From 5:15 to 6:20, he presses the stump of the dismembered arm to his genitals, then pulls his clothing down and uses the severed hand on himself. A jump cut. A leg is fully removed. The second leg is part way through. Clothes framing on the mutilated pelvis and genitals of the corpse. He continues cutting the remaining leg, with a close-up on the anus. 6:20 to 7:35. With arms, legs, and head already separated, he penetrates the torso. Necrophilic intercourse with a dismembered, beheaded body. Another angle on the same remains post-act. He takes a fork and table knife and cuts into the buttocks, as if carving food, sawing, lifting a pale slab of tissue. The image reads as mostly fat, little blood, consistent with massive prior blood loss. A piece is balanced on the fork. He brings it towards his mouth. 7:35 to 9:15. A dog is placed on the bed. It sniffs and mouths the carcass, feeding on the remains. He inserts a wine bottle into the corpse's anus and thrusts it repeatedly. A cut to him masturbating with a dismembered arm wrapped around his penis. The Casablanca poster is visible behind him. 9:15 to 11. The edit inserts still photographs, some only a few frames. The first being the dog at the body. The second, the parts arranged, possibly cold or stored. One frame suggests a freezer with an arm inside. An overview of the head off, arms off, one leg gone, and second leg partly cut. And finally, head from below, neck cavity exposed, profile of the decapitated head. A brief return to motion footage, the throat cut in the mattress, head still attached. An earlier stage, spliced late, or a second angle on how decapitation was staged. The file ends. While the clip spread online, Montreal was still catching up. A janitor in Snowdon found a suitcase in an alley behind an apartment building, human torso inside, decomposing. The bag had sat among refuse. Collection timing delayed pickup. May 25th into May 29th, the anatomy and the upload existed in parallel. May 29th in Ottawa. A package delivered to the Conservative Party national office held a left foot, blood-stained, foul, marked with a red heart. A left hand, addressed to the Liberal Party, was intercepted at a Canada Post plant. Notes traveled with the mail. Police withheld full text publicly, citing copycat risk. One line reported in coverage warned of more killings. That night, May 29th, police entered Magnotta's Dicari apartment. Blood on the mattress, fridge, table, tub. The unit had been stripped, rent paid into June. Inside a closet, written with red ink, "If you don't like the reflection, don't look in the mirror. I don't care." Papers in the alley and objects recovered with the torso pointed to Magnotta. On May 30th, authorities confirmed the parts belonged to one Asian male. The missing person file on the internet closed the loop. The victim was Jun Lin. On May 31st, Interpol issued a red notice. Canada widened the warrant. Magnotta had already booked Montreal-Paris under his real passport. In France, Signal placed him in Bagnolet. He moved under a false passport, Kirk Trammell, Eurolines to Berlin. On June 4th, 2012, Berlin police took him in a New Colon internet cafe while he read news about himself. Fingerprints confirmed identity. June 18th, a Royal Canadian Air Force transport flew him to Mirabel. Officials cited security and diversion risk on commercial aircraft. June 5th, in Vancouver, packages reached St. George's School in False Creek Elementary. Right foot, right hand. Montreal postmarks. Some wrapping was pink. Verses and taunts surfaced in trial reporting. On June 13th, DNA from Lynn's family matched the remains. July 1st, after an anonymous tip, police recovered Lynn's head at the edge of Angrignon Park, Montreal. Tips that arrived early, including from a Montana lawyer who tried Toronto, local sheriff, and FBI in late May, were slow-walked or dismissed in some accounts. Agencies later acknowledged gaps. Viewers of the host site also reported the file. Los Angeles briefly checked Magnotta against the Hollywood sign homicide. They ruled him out. Toronto later looked for links to serial killings in the gay village. The lead did not hold. Preliminary hearing began March 2013, under a publication ban on much of the evidence. On April 2013, indictment on the full charge sheet. Trial ran September to December 2014 in Montreal. Judge and jury. Magnotta pleaded not guilty but admitted the acts, arguing diminished capacity through mental disorder. He did not testify. The Crown framed premeditation, organized purposeful conduct, and tied iconography to films Magnotta had referenced. December 23, 2014, the jury returned guilty on all counts. Mandatory life for murder. Additional sentences on other counts ran concurrent. Parole eligibility was fixed under law. 25 years on the murder count in the Canadian framework. He appealed, then withdrew the appeal in February 2015. In July 2013, Edmonton police charged bestgore.com operator Mark Marek with corrupting morals over hosting the upload. January 2016, he pleaded guilty. The sentence was a 6-month conditional term, half under house arrest on a joint submission. Junlin's father came to Montreal for the preliminary hearing and trial. The family's statements and presence in court put private grief on the public record. On July 11, 2012, Junlin was cremated. On July 26th, his ashes were buried at Notre Dame des Neiges Cemetery, Montreal. Concordia University set up a support fund for the family and established a Junlin Award. A candlelight vigil was held downtown in June 2012. In China, the case drew heavy coverage. Some reporting framed the killing as racially motivated. Discussions in both countries included fear for student safety in Canada. Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird contacted China's ambassador to convey condolences, as reported at the time. The Canadian press named Magnotta Newsmaker of the Year for 2012. Editors cited news value. Critics called it reward for notoriety. Netflix released Don't Fuck with Cats, Hunting an Internet Killer. The arc from kitten videos to the online Manhunt presented as documentary. This project does not review it as entertainment. Magnotta was held at Port Cartier Institution, Quebec, in maximum security. Later reporting described a transfer toward a lower security facility. Expert witnesses at trial disagreed. Defense psychiatrists emphasized schizophrenia and related diagnoses. Crown experts emphasize personality disorders, such as borderline, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, and organized conduct. The jury's verdict was guilty on all counts, full criminal responsibility under law. Junlin was 33. He had crossed an ocean to study, worked a till, signed a lease, texted friends. What the trial record and the tape proved is what his family already knew, that life was taken from him in Montreal in May 2012, then exposed and parceled out in ways this video has not softened. Luka Magnotta serves a mandatory life sentence for first-degree murder. Parole eligibility on that count is set by Canadian law at 25 years, a legal threshold, not a schedule for release, and not a prediction about what any future board will do. The footage remains online to this day. On Fatal Footage, it's treated as evidence and record, not as entertainment. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next episode. He wasn't homeless. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't vulnerable by choice. On July 12, 2007, Sergei got on his motorbike to check his wife's garden and visit some friends. It was a short ride through familiar farmland. He never came home.